In this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief, I sit down with Chad from Smugward Studios to talk about his new game, Crusaders, a tabletop card game that's on Kickstarter. So hang on until after Kickstarter Corner in these few brief messages. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly being powered by Fantasy Cartography 100 plus modular dungeon rooms, the biggest fantasy map aid so far. Modular Rooms Part 2. They surpassed their funding goal, and there's still 4 days to get on the fun of this so you can have maps for your role-playing games. So check out Fantasy Cartography 100 plus modular dungeon rooms on Kickstarter through Monday the 21st of January. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by Sanctum from New Comic Games, a set collection card game of secret societies. Be the first to reach the 7th level and earn the right to enter the Inner Sanctum. You want to hear more about it? Well, we sat down with Ben, the creator, to talk all about it before or shortly thereafter he launched the Kickstarter. You can find that interview in his update number 2, Inner Sanctum, 1 week in. So go give it a listen and check out the campaign, and then go ahead and back it if you like it before Thursday, the 24th of January. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by Snakes and Skulls, Freeblades Fantasy Miniatures, Chakram Wave Stalkers, and Kandorian Death Masters for the Freeblades 32mm Fantasy Skirmish game. On Kickstarter for 5 more days. They've surpassed their funding goal, and you have through Tuesday the 22nd of January to check them out. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by Born to Serve, a superpowered game of tabletop service from Shoot Again Games. It's a tabletop game for 2 to 5 jobless superheroes competing for the last job in town at the local restaurant. And they'll be on Kickstarter for 14 more days through the 31st of January. If you want to find out more about it and hear the interview I sat down with Diane to talk a little bit more about it, you can as well find that in the second update on their page as well. So definitely check out Born to Serve, a superpowered card game of tabletop service. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by VIXIV, the game of survival. VIXIV is a fast-paced strategic card game that pits players against each other in a race to develop the most successful ecosystem. It is brought to us by Snipe Hunt Games. And I sat down with the creator of VIXIV to talk all about his game. You can go back and listen to my last episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief, the one we posted on Tuesday, the 15th of January. So definitely head on over and check out VIXIV, the game of survival, on Kickstarter through Friday, the 8th of February. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by Bunny Stasis. It's a card game for friends and family. A fun-filled card game about bunnies. How can one go wrong? So definitely check out Bunny Stasis, and you know what? Make sure you subscribe to Getting Geeky with Game Relief, as we will sit down with the creator of this game next week. So if you're subscribed, you'll never miss an episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief. It'll go straight to your podcast catchers. But in the meantime, check out the campaign that'll be on Kickstarter through Sunday, the 10th of February. Bunny Stasis, a card game for friends and family. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by LunaTix, the Star Tracker Solar System Lunar Lander. It's an educational and strategic board game that combines real astronomy and historical space navigation. It contains a real star map. And I sat down with the creator to talk all about this game. You can go back and find that in our playlist and see what you think about my interview with Vincent and about this great game. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by a game not yet on the Kickstarters, but it will be there this evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is called INSURED, the survival-based board game. If you got a chance, I just barely released a sneak peek at the game, according to myself, and a reminder about my interview coming up with the designer. So make sure you go back and listen to that, or check out the Kickstarter page and be subscribed to Getting Geeky with Game Relief so you don't miss our episode that will hit this podcast catcher that you're listening on this Saturday. Last but not least, this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly being powered by Syther Gaming and their game Overbattle, which is a tabletop space warfare 4X refined game that hits Kickstarter the 19th of March. What you should do is you should jump over to their Facebook page and click the sign up button on their pinned post for reminders, exclusives, and discount codes. But definitely get signed up so you can find out when Syther Gaming's Overbattle hits the Kickstarters.
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Welcome to Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Glad you can make it. Well, we've got a couple other games to introduce you to in our Kickstarter corner, and then we'll jump right into the meat of the episode when I sit down with Chad to talk all about Cartoon Crusaders. So, hang on.
What is this place? What is it doing here in the Leaves computer? Oh, it's Kickstarter Corner with the Leaves.
First off, in Kickstarter Corner, you heard this game before, but it's Snakes and Skulls, Freeblades Fantasy Miniatures. It's one of the few skirmish games that has got me excited about miniatures and skirmish games. I really want to check them out. But anyways, in this game, you got Chakram Wavestalkers and Kandorian Deathmasters for the Freeblades 32mm fantasy skirmish game. I love their miniatures. They remind me of cartoons from my childhood. And we were featured in an update when I sat down with John to talk all about the Freeblades world and the Kickstarter and everything. You can go find that on update number 10, podcast about Freeblades and the Kickstarter. So head on over, listen to that, and then back the miniatures campaign if you like what you hear or like what you see, heck. Next, we've got Chicken Time Warp. It's a time travel card game in which chicken scientists fight over who gets to escape an endless time vortex. This game will be on Kickstarter for a little less than 24 hours, as it ends tonight, Thursday the 17th of January at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So, if you want Back to the Future but chickens and in a card game, definitely check out Chicken Time Warp. Last but not least is Fantasy Cartography 100 Plus Modular Dungeon Rooms. It's the biggest fantasy map aid so far, Modular Rooms Part 2. So if you need some maps for your campaigns, go ahead and check this one out. You can go back and listen, as I had Princess Leaf sit down to interview me. I played the part of Steve and Princess Leaf played Game Relief. Go listen to the episode. It's really cute. And these maps look like awesome maps. They'll be on Kickstarter for 4 more days, ending Monday, this upcoming Monday, the 21st of January. So check out Fantasy Cartography 100 Plus Modular Dungeon Rooms, now on Kickstarter. Now let's go ahead and see what Game Relief and Chad have to talk about as we join them in their interview, which is already in progress. We'll catch you on the flip side of that interview, okay, peoples?
Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Welcome to Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Tonight we're luckily joined by somebody who has created a new game that's currently on Kickstarter. Maybe you've watched cartoons in the past, maybe you haven't, but I imagine you've heard of cartoons. Well, this game is in the same genre. Tonight, we're pleased to be joined by the creator mastermind of Cartoon Crusaders, tabletop card game that's currently on Kickstarter. Is that correct, Chad? Is that how you fall in line with Cartoon Crusaders?
Yeah, Cartoon Crusaders, just a good two-player tabletop card game I decided to go with. So that's pretty much main idea behind it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We really appreciate it, Chad.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm glad that we've been able to get this talk. I've been looking forward to this for a little while here. So
Awesome. Yeah, glad we could make it work out too. So that's awesome. Now, before we jump into everything that's great about your game, let's rewind a little bit. How did you get into playing tabletop board games, Chad?
well, I I remember ever since I've been young, I've been playing a bunch of board games and any type of game. I mean, I'm a gamer through and through. Play some PC games, play a bit of everything. And I originally actually started with your monopolies and your troubles, and I kind of, let's say, expanded into the card game realm, and I played the Uno and played all the typical ones that everyone knows, and I kind of got into your Kaiser card games and a little more strategy based ones, and I really liked the way those went. And a good buddy of mine back in school introduced me to a small game, one that's called Magic the Gathering. It's very small. A lot of people don't know what it is, of course. But of course, I tried that out, and I was really a big fan of it. And I decided, I played it for a while, and I liked everything about it except for the fact that it was a constant dish out of money. So um, I decided, hey, I'm going to make my own. So I went from playing board games, card games, tabletop games to playing this ever growing Magic the Gathering, and I decided I need something a little different that doesn't cost as much.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily, I never got into the whole money grab that is Magic the Gathering. My friends, what they typically did is it happened with role playing. First, we played Middle Earth role playing games. They had all the stuff. And as soon as I had the money to invest, they stopped playing. Same thing happened with Magic the Gathering a short time after. So luckily, I never got caught in that.
Oh yeah, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong. I mean, to this day, I think it's still one of the best card games, or that style is still one of the best out there. But it is definitely something that you need a lot of money to play. And I mean, that's the way it was designed, and it is designed properly. Plays perfectly. Just there's a lot you got to do and a lot you got to know with that game. So I had to step away.
Am I right to say that was designed by Richard Garfield?
I can't remember actually right now. I think that's right. I haven't looked into it in a while.
Because I want to say, let me look that up really quick while we're here. Let's see here. Because I want to say he recently came out with a new game that everybody's talking about, where you take one card, everybody gets a different deck of cards, and you can just play with that deck.
Yeah, Richard Garfield, and it looks like Mark Rosewater was also part of that build.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I want to say Richard Garfield just recently come out with a new game. It's the latest rage of everybody. What is it? I'm trying to think. Keyforge. Yeah, everybody's been talking about it. Unique deck game, and it sounds like you buy a deck at like $10, and you can play straight out of the deck. Everybody's decks are different. I haven't played it, but it's been the latest rage. I've heard about it on different podcasts and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. No, that's right. I actually I forgot that was his. That's right.
Have you tried that one?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't been able to get a lot of them. There's a game night that my buddies have all the time, and I haven't made it there for a few weeks now. I've been busy working on, of course, a few games now. I kind of work on them more than I play them, it seems like, lately.
Oh boy, I hear you. Like, we got a big collection or whatnot, and I just kind of went crazy with the podcast and interviewing, so I actually do more interviews than playing games. But yeah, I enjoy interviewing, but I enjoy playing games as well. But there's plenty out there. So what do you, besides making stuff, are you able to play anything recently?
Yeah, I've the last few that I've been playing, of course, Settlers of Catan is one of my favorites. We play that with a few friends. Another one, Carcassonne, or I guess depends where you're from, or Carcassonne, however you pronounce it. That's been a real big hit around, by families and friends. It's very simple, very quick to play. If you're not super familiar with it, just basically a tile take over the world building game, and it is what it feels like, and very quick and simple to learn. You can figure out what's happening in about 2 turns if you've never played it. So Carcassone's definitely been a big hit for us lately.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they call it a gateway game. My gateway game was actually Cool Mini or Not's Blood Rage, but we recently got to play. I finally got Carcassonne. We played it at a gaming group. I thought it was a pretty fun idea, and actually I heard they released it to the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, really? See, that's cool to know. I should let my buddy know. He's actually just picked one of those up, and he's always thought that Carcassonne was very, very interesting. He hasn't done it yet. Zombicide, along the same kind of notes, is another one that I've been playing a little bit of. It's a little different of a game, but it's definitely a very good game as well.
That's by Cool Mini or Not, isn't it? I believe.
I think you're right. I actually can't remember who made that one.
Oh, that's okay. So if you took Zombicide or Carcassonne or any of those games, being a designer and all, Chad, what would be one thing you would do to enhance one of those games?
I mean, Zombicide's kind of in its own a very, very standalone. It feels. I don't know about that one as much as I would have changed it. It feels kind of open in comparison. Carcassonne, the one thing I think I would do is I feel that they should expand a little more on it would be a longer game, of course, more along the lines of mixing a bit of Catan feel in it. Once you get your cities and your roads and stuff built up, you should be able to let's use the term fortify them and build up your city, make it up so you have to, you can actually turn it into a warring nation after the map is built. Maybe double the pieces so you can get a bigger map, so you can have a larger playing field to play on. The one thing that you could do though is you could kind of rule it out. So you have your blank pieces, and you could actually fill in the blanks that are in the middle sometimes. So you can actually have a nice map like that, and then you can have, let's call them, bridge pieces and the road pieces that you can, during the warring rounds afterwards, you could actually bridge 2 different cities or bridge 2 different roads together after the road's been already created. One of those ideas, just to expand the game, not so much change it, but carry on with the nice world that's been built. Because I've always been a big fan of sandbox games, which is why I think that one is, to me, is very appealing. So I think just adding to it, not even changing much, would be probably the best for me.
Okay, that's cool. Awesome. And word on the street is you have a new game on Kickstarter currently. What can you tell us about Cartoon Crusaders, Chad?
Yeah, it's as mentioned a little earlier, it's basically, if you liked Magic the Gathering, this is going to be a game you at least want to check out. It's your typical poker card size deck. It's 52 cards. I want to make it pocket size. Go out, spend $20 on the game. You put it in your pocket and you can carry it with you wherever you go. I know when I was in school, I always liked the game Kaiser was nice. You could always have a pocket size deck, or just a deck of cards was always. Everyone always had a pocket big enough for a deck of cards. So I wanted to make a deck of cards that was a 2-player game that wasn't just aces and spades and then hearts and just the normal things, and then but the 7 means this, and I wanted to actually build a new game with a limited amount of cards in it. So of course, playing Magic and wanting to do that, it's over about a year I designed this game to be a 2-player game. You shuffle up one deck, put it in the middle of the table. As the rules state, you draw your cards as indicated, and you follow the rules, as in you can only play defenders in the first round, and you play your attack and equipment cards as you go, your instant cards. It feels a lot like a simplified maybe version of Magic, or a quicker version of Magic, where you don't build your deck per se, but you both play out of the same deck. So it makes a big difference on the outcome of the game, I guess, because you know what cards you want, and you don't know if the other guy is holding them, because you can hold up to 3-4 cards. You can only have 3-4 in play, so it's kind of a game of managing the few cards that you can hold, and just trying to break through his defenses and take out his 20 health that he is. It's very, very simplified version of it, but at the same time, when you play it, it's kind of its own game. It's very neat. like I said, it took me about a year to finally get it working properly. So it's very, very interesting game. But if you're a Magic fan, I definitely say at least check it out.
So did you start with the theme, or did you just start with wanting to have a 2-player card game?
Most of my themes are usually based around Magic, Sword, Shield. I mean, I'm a very big fantasy, or Final Fantasy specifically, anything made by Squaresoft back in the day. Square Enix now. I've always been a fan of that. Your Warcrafts, I'm a fan of that. So I've always liked that. So most of my games, in the future, are going to be based mostly around, Sword, Shield, Magic. But I, of course, wanted to focus on 2-player games that are going to be expandable to 4. But a 2-player game that plays similar to Magic with Sword, Shield, stuff like that it was kind of, I kind of wanted to do both at the same time. So blended them into one.
Oh, okay, sounds pretty cool. And you talked about it, you kind of revamping things or whatnot. So during the play testing of your game, Chad, was there anything you had to scrap because the game just wouldn't work?
Oh, Blake, there was there was definitely a few things that had to be taken out. Partially reasons being that there was way too many variables in play that could basically nullify a card completely, to the point where I had to change 3 cards just in the very last little stretch of me getting it made. They didn't blend, they wouldn't work. They felt useless. They felt like when you got it felt like less than a pawn. Like it was why you just dished it out because you had it. It didn't feel like there was ever a strategy with it. I also had to remove a few ideas simply to keep it at a smaller deck size. I think ideally I could have done it at about 64 cards. But I had to remove about 10 cards, a few pieces of equipment, a few instant cards, 2 defenders, and I think 3 attackers had to be removed. Which may end up, if this game, if there's a little bit of a following behind it, I may turn it into, let's call it an expansion, an add-on, or maybe just, Cartoon Crusaders 2. I don't know. They are still floating around in the memory box, though, so I think we will revamp them in the future or turn them into a new game. I mean, they kind of change the whole feel of it, the removed cards, but for now I think this one is definitely sitting pretty happy right now. So
Well, there you go. And something on your Kickstarter page kind of intrigues me. I'm wondering how exactly it works, but it says skill versus luck versus skill. What can you tell us about that, Chad?
the one nice thing about that, so skill versus luck versus skill. It's one of those games where once say that you have the perfect memory and you grab this deck of cards and you looked through it all, you read each card and you put it back down. And another guy did the same thing, and every card that's in the deck. Now, this deck, though, is you're both playing out of the same one. You shuffle it up, you put it down. Your skill, each card. Your luck, it's the luck of the draw. You're grabbing those cards and you're hoping for certain ones. He's hoping for certain ones. You might be holding one that you think he needs based on what he's building for his defense and which equipment pieces you have. Of course, there's some cards to get rid of equipment. There's some cards to ignore equipment. There's cards to ignore defenders. Skill versus luck versus skill. You know what you need. He knows what you want. You know what he wants. It's luck of the draw versus what's in the deck versus you don't know what he has. So I figured it was a very coy way of saying, check this out.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. So that sounds cool. So per se, you've shuffled the deck, and I sit down to play the game with you. What's my turn going to look like, Chad?
Right off the bat, like I actually mentioned a little bit earlier, just brushed on it. Your first round, when you draw the cards, you draw, he draws, then the other guy, he can only play his defense and equipment cards, nothing that can physically attack the other player, just so you can each build your defense. You get your wall up in your first round, if you're lucky enough to draw that. Secondly, when it gets down to, let's say, round 2, or it's go time, you basically are able to play your attack cards, you're able to play your instant cards, you're able to try and tear down his defenses, and basically in round 2 you're already trying to take down his health. The one neat thing that I'll say, there's definitely combos in this. There's combo cards that you can build up. Some of the instant cards can cause ridiculous. Actually, speaking of what did I remove a little bit earlier, speaking of combo cards, there was one that I actually accidentally found that you could take 18 out of the 20 health if you had a perfect combo on your second hand. So I did remove one card and altered one card a little bit. Now a big combo right off the hop. If you're perfectly lucky and he's very unlucky, you can do about 8 to 10 damage on your second round. But on average, the average round, you're just picking away at defenses and getting rid of defenders and using your attackers and maybe holding on to them, because a lot of them, as you browse maybe on the Kickstarter page, some of the cards actually, and some I didn't show yet as a little surprise, some of them have dual use. For example, I have one attacker that he can either attack or he can destroy an equipment card on use. He's a high attack damage, but if the other guy has a piece of equipment on, the only way to get rid of an equipment on another player is this one exact attacker. So do I attack with him? Do I remove some equipment? He's so technically I removed some cards earlier, but what I did was I borrowed some abilities and made some cards dual purpose. So
Yeah, I kind of like that mechanic, the dual purpose card. I think that's pretty cool. So is it a hand management? Like, do I draw so many cards each turn and I'm trying to deal with my hand, or how does that look?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, it's not going to be one of those ones where you have to look and, oh geez, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, and I really have to maybe hold this. The nice thing is you can never hold more than 4 cards in your hand. You can never have more than 4 defenders in play. There's no discards in the whole game. You can't just discard one. There's one time only if neither player can play a card. If you're at a stalemate. At this time, the rule states both players reveal both hands to prove that, I don't have a play. Once that happens, everyone just discards all your cards, and you just both draw 2 cards and carry on. Outside of that, it's once a card has served its purpose, throw it into the discard pile. It's mostly I like to call it as your turn. You have your set amount of moves you can do, but at the same time you can hold back and not do them. So because you are the allowance of 4 cards to hold. So
Okay, awesome. And after I'm done with those 4 cards, do I always draw up at the end of my turn or the first of my next turn?
Oh yeah, definitely. You have you draw. I think I did change rules a few times, but I think you just have it's 1 card right now. I think in the final draft I have it down to 1 card that you draw in the beginning of your turn. So
Okay, so I wouldn't be drawing, like if I use all 4, I wouldn't draw up to 4?
no, sorry, I was just reviewing the current rules. It is at the beginning you draw 2. It was 1. Game seemed to draw it a little long, so we have it up to 2. So if you have 0 cards, you draw 2. If you have 3 cards, you only draw 1 because you can never hold more than 4. So, of course, let's use a quick tip. Always try and be down to 2 cards by the end of your turn. So then you can draw 2 new cards at the beginning. So
Okay, awesome. And what if I have like 1 or 0 cards? Does that ever happen at the end of my turn?
Oh yeah, I've definitely. If you've if the other player has used, he has defenders out there, and you've used all your attackers, and then you have room, and you can drop your. I've definitely had 0 cards quite often, multiple turns in a row. You draw 2, drop a defender, use an attacker to try and live longer, or drop a defender, use an instant card to get rid of one of his attack, something, right? So there's more often than not, I'm only hovering on 1 card. So
Okay, and how do you determine who wins the game? Am I just taking out their other attackers, or the first one who gets rid of those 20 hit points? I think you said something about that.
Yeah, 20 hit points. You will have 20 hit points. I will have 20 hit points. And as the rules are stating, basically each player starts with 20 HP, and at no point during the game can you have more than 20 HP. So basically there are ways that you can gain health, but the way to win the game is to get rid of the other player's 20 health.
Okay, so there's a way, so my wife totally going to town on me, and I luckily get a card, there is some way to heal and get some of those hit points back at some point?
Yeah, there's this is a real sneaky card to hold. It's one of the 4 instant cards that is. It's called Healing Light. It's basically your white mage is what the picture is basically. Heal 3 health to a defender or player, can be used at any time. So technically, if you want and a guy attacks a defender and he's about to die, you can just heal him up. Boom, he's at 3 health, so your defender isn't gone. Or a player, you can hover yourself down to 1 health and 2 health or 0 health, and as soon as you hit 0, you can re-heal yourself before the turn is ended. And technically, you revive, right? You get your 3 health back. Or if you have 16 health and you're holding 3 cards, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to use this Healing Light, put myself to 19, get down to the 2 cards, so then next turn I can draw my 2 cards. So there is a 3 health, but if you're at 19 and you use it, you go back to 20. It's you can be at more than 20 health. So
Okay, awesome. And on some of the cards, I'm looking at it, they have like power of 3. What's that mean? Is that how many hit points the specific little characters have, or what is that?
For the defender, it is. For the attackers, that's what their attack power is. The defender will be a defender. There's only one of them that's a little more confusing. It's explained right on his card. His power is X, but very specifically, his guard has a defensive power equal to the total number of friendly defenders in play, including himself. So if there's 3 defenders, his power is 3. If there's 3 plus him, his is 4. But the attackers, though, you're right, that is their attack power. You basically will, a soldier, as an example, this is I'm going to call him one of your basic attackers. He has a power of 1, but soldier can deal double damage to defenders if needed. So if the defender is power of 2 sitting there, he can take out a defender with a power of 2. But he has just a power of 1 card, but that's his quote unquote special ability on top of his 1 attack power. So it's a power thing. So for each card you glance at it to see what that one actually does. The attackers and defenders use that as a way of showing what their health or attack power is.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty fun game. Now, especially like the art, the little cartoon characters and stuff. How did you come up with the whole name, the Cartoon Crusaders?
There's a good buddy of mine, actually, buddy Corey. He'll come over here and we sit down and we'll discuss and we'll write down names and actually for the next game that I'm even working on as well. We'll sit down and no joke, we'll slap down 40 or 50 different names and bounce back and forth and find something that actually just works with what the game is and how the art style is coming. And Cartoon Crusaders, I knew that I wanted cartoon feel in the title. And that was the word I kept saying, like, oh, it's got to feel like, cartoony, right? And what we stuck with it. We used the word cartoon, and it actually it fits quite well. And Crusaders, well, as I mentioned earlier, Crusaders to me always feels like a big sword and shield, and going on a holy crusade and having what the cards look like. So Cartoon Crusaders was it was a perfect fit, and it actually took a couple hours to kind of sit down and hash through them, but I want to say it was one of the quicker names that I've had to decide for a project I've been working on. As soon as we said this one out loud, it stuck, and it flows nicely. It's a very, very good name for what you see on these cards.
Oh, wow. Just the whole process. It sounds like almost arguing with my wife over which name we were going to name our children.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's he would have a few ideas that he thought were perfect, and I was on the other fence, and eventually we actually we came up with this one, and it seemed to stick. I mean, as soon as it was said out loud, we both nodded and was like, well, that's it. That's it.
Well, yeah, I think it's got a nice ring. Now, when it comes to Cartoon Crusaders, what would you say you're most proud of, Chad?
Honestly, it's how well the mechanics work in the game. I was fighting for no joke about 3 months with certain mechanics not meshing well, with them overlapping, with them not. I'm gonna use the term word. The words were clashing, so it didn't feel like it should work. Something you'd cast one instant, and then this defender, the way that his abilities were worded and what they should have been able to do was completely nullifying the fact that this card was a special ability. But the fact that it was, it's finally working, and I mean, I've probably had about 30 or 40 different people. Some were friends, some were random people now, just throughout the playtesting phase. Every single person, that was the first thing they said. I like how this game plays. It's smooth, and the one guy actually that I had at a local, I'm going to say Comic-Con, our local comic convention that we had in the city here. He bought it and he actually emailed me later, and it was a lengthy email just of him explaining how a local game that he's never been able to see, and because I had one run of them, as I mentioned, on Kickstarter going, and he sent me a quick email saying, hey, this game is it's laid out so well, and it's designed to the point where I was expecting just a very loosely put together game. He said, but the artwork and the quality and just the way it played, he said he was just thoroughly impressed, and he liked how each card felt different, and you didn't know what the other guy is holding, so he didn't know what you'd want to hold in your own hand. He liked the mechanics, and that was one that, it was one of those ones I was kind of pretty proud of it, because it was one of my first major endeavors for a game. So this is definitely just a start of I'm going to say about 3-4 games that I have in the works right now. So,
well, yeah, that's always nice when other people that have no relation or whatnot, when they can point something out at you. So that's awesome that it does that. Now, Chad, with all of the game projects that are on Kickstarter, what makes Cartoon Crusaders pop as one my audience should go check out and then back if they like what they see?
Well, the one thing that I did, I'm not even. This was a question actually that I was expecting, partially because it is one of those games that, or pardon me, one of those platforms that there's always something. This is one of those games that I think, for multiple reasons actually. One main reason is its pocket size. Yes, there's a lot of card games out there, but it's pocket size, but it feels large. It's not just a. I'll bring up another game actually that reminded me of is like Exploding Kittens, any of those type of games where you draw and it just, whatever happens. It's as big as that game physically, but it's anywhere, like I've had anywhere from a 15-minute game up to a 48 to 52-minute game, just because of battling back and forth. And do you use your heal card to give yourself that 3 health, or do you hold it so that he can't get it? Because if you use it and all the cards have been drawn, you reshuffle every discarded card, and you reshuffle and you carry on. Well, if you use it and then the reshuffle happens, he might get it right away. It might be the top card for him. So you have to fight with yourself to see how low it's going to go. So it's a very in-depth strategy game, but it's only 52 cards. I think that's probably one of the biggest things I'd say is it's pocket size, but it's a very big game in a very small box.
Okay, and bringing back that, like you said, with that's kind of cool with that whole holding on to the health, or do you use it going back to your skill versus luck versus skill again?
Exactly. That's exactly. When do I play? When, as the old song goes, right? You got to know when to hold them. So
yeah, for sure, awesome. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So almost poker, but with the Cartoon Crusaders instead.
Definitely.
So there you go. So that's awesome. Now, we can edit this part out of the podcast if we need to, but a lot of people in my networks and whatnot, they talk about how important a video is on the first of a Kickstarter page. Some people skip completely over that. What are your thoughts on that? Because I noticed there's no video. Is there one coming, or?
I was definitely planning on doing it. I can be honest with you. I never even considered doing one, based on the fact this was a tabletop card game. It was an oversight. I mean, I'm definitely running a little bit low on time. I can definitely throw together if people have any interest in seeing one. It'd be a lower quality video, but I'm picky, so I didn't want to throw one together. But if people do want to see, I definitely would. If that's a thing people have mentioned, I would definitely be able to throw one together and put it on there real quick. But it would be a very, very, very scrappy looking. But just to give people a quick view of what it would be. That's definitely something I can put together. It was an oversight. I missed it completely.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, just people might wonder and whatnot, but just looking at the card art and stuff, and it sounds like, talking to you about the gameplay, it sounds like it's well put together. Now, did anybody review the game? Any third-party reviewers?
So far, not any reviewers that I don't know. I have a few groups of friends that are uh, like yourself. I'm assuming like a few of us we play every week, and there's one group of us that I don't know all of their friends, and they've played it a few times, and they've given me some feedback, but not so much of a review, not a reviewer. Not some of the guys that I see out there that I don't, like I say, I don't know any of them at all personally or have worked with them because this is kind of my first endeavor. But I'm definitely down to maybe send off a digital copy to a reviewer or two if they want to hit print or something. But right now I don't have any reviews done on it. No.
Okay. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then just one more quick thing before we wrap up here. The goal amount, $2,260. How did you come up with that, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, the goal right now for that price was simply just a quick. I kind of did a quick evaluation of what a good number of sales, what a good number of not even sales of people that are interested in the game. And if I would have had 14 or 5 people interested, it's kind of one of those things. I don't think it would have been worth doing. It's something that I'm trying to see, as long as there's a broad enough audience or spectrum. And once again, if this boiled down to where if I would have had a video and but just getting people to be interested in it, I was thinking that number is for production, for everything, just to keep the cost down for everybody involved. That was kind of the turnaround number to make things valued at where I can get these games made for people. And then of course, if it gets a little bit bigger, then I'm hoping I can bring costs down, of course, depending on size and everything. But it was basically based on bringing costs as low as I can based on interest. So.
Okay, awesome. And it looks like if somebody is interested, they can go ahead and back it and get a copy for 15 USD or 20 Canadian dollars. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I've kind of had that price point followed for a very, very short run game that I actually still have on my Smugward.com website. There's another game on there that I have, but this one and that one, the other game was a very quick game, me testing the waters on card creation and getting into it and trying to figure it out. And then for $20, yeah, you can also pick up Cartoon Crusaders through there right now. It's kind of on a hiatus through the website, but I am basically just because I'm trying to see if I can bring that price down for now. If there's going to be, let's call it a stretch goal or reach goal. I said I don't really have one right now, but if it took off and there was a whole bunch of people that jumped on board with this, I would definitely see if I can figure something out and get some extra bonuses to people. Like at the moment, it's for $20 Canadian and $15 American, it's one of those things that it's pocket-sized game for a decent price, I figure. So
awesome. And now, will shipping be added later, or does that include shipping prices?
That will be added just based on where you live. I'm not going to try and I'm going to try and figure out where people are and what the costs are. But for the most part, it's one of those things where people will let me know where they are, and when we get the shipping all lined up. I mean, unless all of a sudden this thing blew up and there was tons of sales, then I would definitely just try and incorporate a base shipping price. But for right now, it's that would be if we just got to just the goal, we're at a small enough number that I can manage let people actually save where they can on the shipping. So.
Awesome. Now, somebody goes ahead and backs Cartoon Crusaders. After it funds, when would they anticipate getting their game?
The nice thing is on the very bottom of that, I did have a little backstory. Because I had that first quick run of them just as a trial to see what I can get figured. I do have some copies still kicking around, so there's going to be the first 50 to 100 is a window right now. Those guys should get them just based on shipping time. I mean, if this ends at the end of the month here, I'm hoping that those guys would see them within 2 weeks, actually, the very first 50 to 100 people. After that, I just have to wait on printing time. My printing time, according to the 2 shops that I have lined up right now, a third one as a backup, the price wouldn't be able to be incorporating shipping, that's for sure. They're a little pricier, but the main 2 shops that I've been talking to said that I can have a new run of however many I need within a week and a half to 2 weeks' time. So a month tops.
Okay, so it is pretty quick, because I see on the page it says March.
I wrote March because, of course, this ends in January 31st, or at the end of January. So if March is from the full month of February, so March 1st is technically was March 1st to 15th is kind of the window that you'd expect. But the initial run night, like I mentioned, I do have a few ready to go. So depending on how many actually get back to you, that's where we're sitting. So.
Well, there you go. And we'll make sure we leave all the links in the show notes. So anybody listening that wants to go ahead and check it out, go ahead and click on our link on over and show Chad a little bit of support and help make Cartoon Crusaders become a reality. Now, you talked about having other stuff in the pipeline. What other kind of games are you working on for the near future? I know we're focused on this one right now, but what's in the future for you, Chad?
Yeah, definitely. The one that actually is really depends on play testing and just like I mentioned earlier, I'm a little picky, so I've been changing the artwork on this game a little bit more. That I've been focusing on the play testing more, but it's the name in progress right now is called Tales of the Dark Prophets, and this one here, the name, of course, may shrink down to just Dark Prophets, but what this one is it's kind of a spellcasting only game. It's going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 players. Once again, the big fight that I'm having is keeping this down to 52 cards. It's going to be basically you got to collect your reagents. I don't want to release a heck of a lot too much, but what I would say is if you found me on Facebook, Smugward Studios, there's a few sneak cards. You can kind of see what's going on there. It's definitely something that I'd say if you have any interest in what this game looks like, but you want to play with a couple more people, and maybe a little bit of picking on people, if you like that kind of game, Tales of the Dark Prophets might be for you.
Well, there you go. And it looks like you partially answered one of my last questions, but minus coming there to Canada to stalk you, how would people keep up with you and other games you might have coming out later on?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, on Facebook, Smugward Studios, if you look it up, you'll find our site there. And you might even notice I do focus a little bit on T-shirts and hats and logos and stuff. I do a little bit of side stuff with that. So you will see a little bit of extra stuff besides just games through there. So, I mean, if you have interest on some of those too, we do make those. Myself will get them made up and shipped out. But or if you literally just go to Google and you type in Smugware, Smugware, as in software, Smugware, you'll find anything. You'll find an Instagram that I have going as well. You'll see smugware.com, my website. There's a few different ways to follow what's going on, but the Facebook page is usually first to be updated besides the Instagram page, which is just little sneak peeks or, maybe sometimes pictures of my dog, just little things.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. What kind of dog is it?
She's the runt of her litter, but she's a Pekingese Shih Tzu pug, and her name is Angel. So.
Oh, there you go. Sounds like an angel. Awesome. Now, we don't want to keep you all night, Chad, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief with us to talk all about Cartoon Crusaders tabletop card game that's on Kickstarter through Sunday, the 27th of January. We really appreciate it, Chad.
Oh, definitely. I appreciate the time you're giving me here. I definitely want to say, too, this was definitely something that I was hoping that we could get going on. I know you guys definitely have a very good thing going as well, so I'm glad that we could touch base here, Blake. It was great chatting with you.
Well, I appreciate it. No problem. Well, I really enjoyed that little sit down with Chad to talk all about his new game, Cartoon Crusaders. It sounds like a fun one, especially for you Magic fans out there like, let's say, Richard from We're Not Wizards. So, yeah, definitely go ahead if you like anything we talked about or you like the Kickstarter on any of the projects we talked about today. Make sure you click the links on our show notes. Show a little support to Game Relief as well as these creators. They worked hard to get these games together. And if you'd like to hear your game talked about or a game you want to hear us talk about on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, reach out to me via the Facebooks at Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Or if you want to do a giveaway with the Giveaway Geek, I'm also your guy, and you can reach us out there via the Giveaway Geek as well, or myself, Blake Leafy, on Facebook. But anyways, our least favorite time, your least favorite time for us to get on with our lives, you to get on with yours. In the meantime, I hope you'll get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others in geekfold. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Gamer Leaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.